let's look at how we can do long division with a 3-digit divisor. Okay, we've got a strategy in our class that will make this process a little bit easier. Okay, because I don't know about you, but I don't know my 213's times table. All right, so let's see where we have to start in this problem. We cannot go into 1, we cannot go into 11, we can't even go into 119. So the first number that we're going to be working with is 213 into 1192. All right, that's a pretty big number, and that's not something I can calculate in my head. So here's our strategy. We're going to try and make this math problem easier. Okay, with my pencil, very, very lightly, because I'm not getting rid of these numbers, I'm just ignoring them for a minute. I'm going to cross out the last digit of each number. All right, do I know my 21's times table? Well, I don't. So I'm going to make this even easier. I'm going to cross off the 9 and the 1. And now all I'm left with is a 2. And I do know my 2's times table. Okay, so I'm going to look at the 2 and the 11 because that's what's left, right? How many times does 2 go into 11? Well, that goes in 5 times, right? Because 2 times 5 is 10. So that's going to be my first guess. Before I commit to that number up here, I'm going to go ahead and work out a side problem here. And I'm not going to do 2 times 5. I'm going to do 213 because that's my original divisor times 5. Okay, so I can go ahead and just erase that light pencil. That's why we want to make it light and not real dark. Okay, so 213 times 5, because that's my guess. And let's see how close it is. That's 15. That's 6. 5 times 2 is 10. So 1065. Now it's possible another 213 might go in. So we can go ahead and let's just try. We might need it later anyway. Okay, 8, 1, 7, 2, 1. 1,270, well, that's too big, isn't it? Because our number is 1,192. So this, our first estimate was correct. So let's go ahead and put our 5 up here. 5 times 213, we already did that work. So let's write that there. And let's do some subtraction. All right, we're going to go ahead and borrow 7. 8 minus 6 is 2. 1 minus 0 is 1. Okay, we always want to check that this number is smaller than our divisor, then we know we're doing it right. Let's go ahead and bring down our last number, which is an 8. So now I have 213 into 1,278. So we can look over here, look at this. We've already done the work. Okay. So let's practice our method. Okay. So say we didn't have that done over there. We would cross off the 8 and the 3 and the 7 and the 1. And now I go 2 into 12. Well, 2 goes into 12 6 times. I would use that as my first guess. I would do a little side problem here to make sure that's accurate. And then I would go ahead and commit to my answer of 6. 1, 2, 7, 8, and 0. So our final answer is 56. Let's look at our next problem. 794 into 27,790. Okay, so let's check it out. It doesn't go into 2, it doesn't go into 7, it doesn't go into 277. So we're going to have to start with this big number here, 2,779. Okay, again, I do not know my 794's timetable, so let's see if we can make this problem easier. We can cross off the last digit. We're just ignoring it for a moment. We're not getting rid of it, remember? Okay, cross off the 7 and the 9 because I don't know my 79's timetable. And now I'm down to a 7 and a 27. Now I do know my 7's timetable. Okay, so how many times is 7 going to 27? Well, 7 times 3 is 21 and 7 times 4 is 28. So that's too big. So let's go 7 times 3. Okay, so before I commit to it over here, I'm going to do a side problem. And remember, I'm not doing 7 times 3, but I'm going to do 794 because that is my full divisor. So I'll go ahead and get rid of these lines so I don't forget. So 794 times 3. Let's see, that's 12. Carry the 1. 27 plus 1 is 28. That's 21 plus 2 is 23. 2,382, and I have 2,779. Okay, now I can look at those and go, definitely not going to get another 7 in, because if I add 7 to that 3, it's going to give me 10, and it's going to give me a new 1,000. Okay, but if you weren't sure with your mental math yet, you could always try over here and do 794 times 4 just to check it out. So 6, carry the 1, 9 times 4 is 36, plus 1 is 37. 4 times 7 is 28, plus 3 is 31. Okay, so now we can see that's 3,176, and that is too big. So we're going to go over here, and we're going to commit to that 3 now. because we checked it out. 3 times 794, we've already done that work, so let's not do it twice. And let's find what's left over. 9 minus 2 is 7. I cannot do 7 minus 8, so let's borrow over here. 17 minus 8 is 9. 6 minus 3 is 3. And 2 minus 2 is 0. Okay, always checking this number is less than our divisor. It is, so we're good to go. Let's go ahead and bring down our 0. Okay, we've got 3,970. Well, that does not match the number we have here, so it's going to be something different. Let's go ahead and use our method. Let's practice using our method. So we're going to cross off the 0 and the 4, the 7 and the 9, and I'm left with 7 and 39. Okay, 7 times 6 is 42, 7 times 5 is 35. So let's go ahead and try 35 because 7 times 6 will give us a number too big, but let's try it out over here before we commit in our problem. Let's do this. 0, carry the 2, 9 times 5 is 45 plus 2 is 7, carry the 4, 35 plus 4 is 39. And look at that, it's the same as our number. So we're going to go ahead and write 5 up here and 3970 and subtract. Okay, now one mistake I often see with students is that they don't put a little X or a 0 here, a placeholder to show that we're not dividing into the 2, the 27, or the 277, and they start writing their answer way over here. And the problem is you end up potentially bringing down extra numbers that you're not supposed to, or when you get to a more difficult long division with decimals, you're going to end up putting your decimal in the wrong spot. So it's really important we practice doing it correctly, and we put something there to indicate we're not dividing into those first 3 numbers, and we start our answer over the last digit of the number we're dividing into. Okay, let's try this one. This one's going to have a remainder. So 307, that is not going to go into 5 or 55, but it is going to go into 558. Okay, now 3 plus 3 is 6, right? So I know that 307 is only going to go once into 558. All right, but if you weren't sure, you could go over here and work it out to convince yourself that you're right. The 0 plus 1, and that is 6. So 614, yeah, that's too big. Okay, so go ahead and put a 1 here. 1 times 307. And let's find the difference. 8 minus 7 is 1. 5 minus 0 is 5. 5 minus 3 is 2. All right, we always want to check this number is less than our divisor. It is, so let's keep on going. All right, now we've got a good number to go into. We can practice our method. Okay, I do not know my 307's times tables, which I'm sure you do not either. So let's use our math hack here. We're going to cross off the last digit of each number. Cross off until we're left with a single digit here. And now 3 into 25. Well, I can do that because I know my 3's times table, right? 3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 8 is 24. And 3 times 9 is 27. Well, 27 is too big. We can't go past 25. So let's do 3 times 8 is 24. Before I commit to that, let's go over here and work it out. 307, remembering to use our original divisor and not just the 3. And we said 8, right? So let's do 7 times 8. 8, 0, that's plus 5. 8 times 3 is 24. 2, 4, 5, 6. I'm definitely not going to fit another 307 in there. So let's go ahead and commit to that 8 up here. 8 times 307, we work that out. 2, 4, 5, 6 minus. Okay, can't do that. So let's borrow from here. Make that 11, but then I got to borrow, so let's make it a 10 and make that 11. 11 minus 6 is 5. 10 minus 5 is 5, and 4 minus 4 is 0, and 2 minus 2 is 0. All right, if I am going too fast, you can always slow down the video, or you can rewind because I know I'm talking through this kind of quick. Okay, 55 is less than 307, so let's keep going. Bring down our 2. All right, we don't need to do any math trick here, any math hack, do we? 307 will go into that only one time. 1 times 307 is 307. Okay, we're going to have to borrow again. 12 minus 7 is 5. 4 minus 0 is 4. And 5 minus 3 is 2. 245 is less than 307, so we can go ahead and bring down our 6. Okay, great. We get to try our method again. Okay, let's cross off the last digit. Let's do one more. And now we've got 3 into 24. Wait, 3 goes into 24 8 times. Wait, we already did that, didn't we? And look, it came out exact. I thought this one was going to have a remeter, and I was wrong. So let's go ahead and put 8 up here. 8 times 307 is 2, 4, 5, 6 with 0. So look at that. We managed to make a 3-digit divisor long division problem a little bit easier. The thing we need to remember, though, is when we go to do the multiplication, we don't use the single digit that we made. We use the entire divisor when we're working out our multiplication.